The statutory charter of the body and the composition of its membership are in themselves evidence of the government's desire that there should not be too much departmental interference with the internal affairs of the universities, while at the same time ensuring that proper standards are maintained and some of the glaring defects of university education removed. I am sure you will agree with me that if the Indian universities have today fallen into comparative disrepute, much of the responsibility lies with the universities themselves. Their administration has in many cases become slack and standards impaired through mainly non-academic causes, into the details of which I need not go. However, since the Inter-University Board has raised objections, I felt it desirable to summon a conference of Vice Chancellors and Education Ministers and find out what they base their objections on. I need hardly add that I am always willing to consider any constructive suggestions they might make for the improvement of standards in universities and better coordination of their facilities. I assume that we have met with a common objective, with the reform of university education with a view to making the universities agencies of national regeneration in independent India. I have made a passing reference to the fact that universities do not today enjoy the public esteem accorded to them in the past. The reasons for this are many, but two may be especially mentioned. One is the largely academic character of the instruction in the universities, which instead of developing the personality of the student and enabling him to make a place in society for himself, often converts him into a misfit who adds to the number of the unemployed, if not the unemployable. The other is that even the standards of academic education have fallen so much that persons who have reached the highest stage are not only ill informed and ill educated about the affairs of the world, but are sometimes ignorant of the elementary things in their own fields of study. Inefficiency and corruption, which have also crept into some of the university administrations, have contributed to the public's loss of confidence in them. While no one is more keenly conscious of the defects of the present position, I should at the same time like to say that I do not believe that a sweeping condemnation of the universities and university education is justified right today. I must also point out that not all the present defects of the universities are due to faults of the staff or the administration. Many of them are a direct outcome of the system which has been set up. The fact that a university degree is an indispensable condition for employment in most types of service has induced a rush for degrees and led to overcrowding in universities. As a degree is regarded as a passport to any employment, some universities felt that they should not deny this passport to their students. There was thus a tendency to pass as many students as possible, if necessary, even by lowering the standards. Once this downward trend began, it was difficult to check it for any university which sought to maintain a high standard faced the risk of losing its students to other universities with lowered standards. The fact that degrees are essential prerequisites for employment had an undesirable effect on students as well. It made them pay more attention to the passing of examinations than to the acquisition of knowledge. On the other hand, the lack of adequate financial support for the universities leaves them with no option but to encourage the inflow into universities of as large a number of students as possible. In a situation where many of the universities derive a major portion of their income from the tuition and examination fees of students, it is difficult, if not impossible, for the university to exercise adequate control on the discipline and standards of study of its students. I may tell you that the government is aware of these problems and we are now considering various measures to ease the situation. In many countries, the possession of a degree is not an essential condition for employment in government service. We are therefore also considering whether a change can be made in our present practice. A proposal is under examination that we should not insist on degrees for employment except only in specialized posts which require high academic qualifications. This can be done only if we are able to devise some alternative method of recruitment to different types and grades of public service which will be objective, flexible, and free from the defects of the present system. I have mentioned that one defect of the existing system of university education is its abstract and academic character. This in itself would not have been so serious a defect in a country with a different social background. University education must in any case involve a high degree of specialization and coordination. Unfortunately, in India, this emphasis on the intellectual and academic aspect has been missing.
Subscribe now and press the bell icon. Never miss an update.